the entire time I played the technical preview, I had no freaking clue what anyone was wearing at any point. It was a completely null and void idea to remove red versus blue because everyone I fought, even my teammates, I had no clue what they were wearing. For these people that, in the future are going to have worked for tens of hundreds of hours on their battle passes, spending money to get these cosmetics, if the point is to show them off by not having red versus blue, it's kind of not working. Like, you do see them in the intro, the intro where it introduces the team. That's a really good way to show it off. I love that. But once you get in game, it's like, you almost might as well have made them red versus blue, because if they were all red, I could tell what their armor was. I could tell what the armor they were wearing better than I could with this glowy outline. And the outline, it's weird because the outline does so much to make it harder to tell. Like, to me, all the players look like red. Like, if I'm blue team, like blue outline or whatever, the entire enemy team looks like a red outline. None of them look like they have different armors or different permutations at all. They look the same. And then Luke went on further to say, which I think you mentioned too in our last episode, Josh, and I totally agree, it's hard to tell how much damage you've done on them, how low their shields are. I have no idea if they're almost dead or if they're practically full health. No clue. So I think it's actually a major, major issue that you cannot tell what anyone's wearing, despite how much they worked for it, and you can't tell how much damage you're doing. Those are problems that we've never had in Halo that are now there. I think it's a huge issue, and I was like, as he's saying this, I'm going, man, how do we solve this problem? And then maybe I haven't thought of something here, but then Luke proposed an idea that I thought, that's genius. He goes, keep the outline system, but just for your teammates, and then have the entire opposite team just running around in their own colors and their own cosmetics.
That seems like it's worth a try if we're going to have several flights. Why not give that a shot?
Because he said that, I'm like, okay, why wouldn't that work? Because a couple of things. Then if they don't have an outline, they're an enemy. Simple, okay? You can see what they're wearing, you can see their cosmetics, that's great. Sure, your own team will have it, but then you can almost kind of pitch it like an ODST thing where it's like, oh, this is an indicator for your teammates. The outlines, they could even almost they could quit talking about the whole, outline thing as much, and they could kind of play it off more as like a team indicator.
Well, that was another thing I was wondering too. Was it just me and me being a dum-dum, or like, could you not have like, a 117 above your player? Like, could you not have an emblem? You know what I mean? Like how in Halo 2 you have the emblem, like or like a service tag
in settings, but I couldn't.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought too. I swore there was an option for it there, and I was like, oh shit, okay. And then I never saw it, and I was like, did I mess something up? Am I in the wrong with this, or is it just the game like teasing me? I don't know.
But even more so than the not being able to see cosmetics, the biggest issue is not having feedback onto how much damage you've done. That's absolutely critical to the game long term. Like, you have to be able to tell that. And
no, definitely, because you have. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So my guess is I'm about done. Josh, I've been rambling for a while here.
No, you're good. You're good.
My guess is the reason you can't tell is because of the outline. I could be wrong, but I'm guessing if the outline was removed, the proper feedback's probably already there. It's just that outline can it blocks everything. But
you might be right, but like I remember in Halo 5, I could throw a grenade down a hallway and not even see the dude, and it would make a noise that let me know, holy shit, someone's shields are down right now. And what was cool about that, like, I can get why they maybe don't want to go for something as literal as that anymore. But like the cool thing about that was, like, in that moment, I'm like, as a player, I'm like, now suddenly it makes me question, do I chase or do I stay?
Yeah.
And like, if you don't have that kind of audio feedback or even a visual cue, you don't have that push or pull, like chase or stay type thing, that kind of makes for exciting moments of like that person coming around the corner, like me going around the corner and finding out, yeah, his shields are down, but his buddies are there to back him up. What a stupid mistake. Or what a great idea, because that completely shifted the odds and the momentum getting that kill because that dude had the rockets on him. I don't know. Like,
I think that's a great addition to the point, Josh, is the audio feedback as well. And once again, I think you said this in the last episode, Josh, but you were completely right. I think the number one problem in Halo Infinite right now is just feedback in general. The visual feedback, the audio feedback, the who's your team, who's not. Like, it's like, I don't say this to be a dick. I say this to just be honest and objective. As far as visual and audio feedback goes, it kind of seems like it might be the worst Halo's ever been. Actually,
that's where I'm kind of like at lately. Is I'm like, okay, it feels fun to play. The weapons, maybe they need some tweaking, but still on a fundamental level, they feel fun to use. playing against bots is pretty neat. The maps seem cool. The graphics look great. But I'm like, the audio and visual like cues that we're so used to feel so lacking. You know?
Yeah, it feels like they've. It's almost like, and obviously it wasn't intentional, but it's almost like they've created a new. It's like they had 10 problems, right? And they fixed all 10 problems, but they added a new one. Yeah. And the new problem is the feedback.
You know what I'm saying? Like, was born.
Yeah,
it feels like. You're right. No, you're right.
I don't know why they've introduced this new problem. And then another thing that, like, I'm pretty sure I specifically said in the last episode that I did not agree with this. And in some ways, I still don't agree with it. But in other ways, I'm really coming around to seeing people's points. People are having trouble with that, with the UI in general, because of where all of it's boxed in the bottom right corner. It's hard to process all that information in the half second you need to just glare at. You know, when you're playing Halo, you just want to glance at it, get your information, and get right back in the. You don't. If that takes more than a second, you failed. You know what I mean? And I'll be honest, when I was playing, I never knew what grenade was going to come out of my hand because I was just chucking them. You know what I mean? And it's partly because of that. It's like, and then when I look down there, it's like, okay, I'm looking at, okay, which grenades in my hand? How much ammo do I have? Which weapon do I have? It's like there needs to be something probably changed there, going along with all the visual feedback, audio feedback. I think it was. I actually don't remember if it was in Luke's video or somebody else, but the plasma grenades. You can't tell, really, they don't look much different than a frag.
They don't
when you throw
look
it.
too much more distinct, yeah. I mean, I can tell, but like they really don't do enough to be distinct.
So it really makes me wonder if, like, because I know this build's a little old, is all of this feedback stuff something that comes near the end of development, or do they really just make this big of a misstep with the feedback? And once again, to be fair, you know, we're talking about a technical preview that was freaking amazing, that we loved, we enjoyed. This has everything in it to be a god tier Halo. I mean, my experience was, we gave our ratings last week. It was like 8 or 9 out of 10. We're hyped. Like,
mine's gone down now because I thought of stuff like that, but I still liked it overall.
Yeah.
But yeah,
but like overall, like very happy. Like 343 is killing it. But I think it's important to bring points to this, the severity of this issue. Like, a lot of this stuff needs to change. Like, make the plasma grenade, make it so you can tell that it's a plasma. Do something with the UI so it's not too much to process while you're in the heat of battle. Do something with the outlines, whether you change their opacity, their color, you make it so it's teammates only. The audio, like, let me know what's happening. Like the Needler's badass, but like there's no super combine sound. It doesn't sound. There's just a lot of feedback issues there, and it's just so strange to see them like tackle, like to manage to. Oh, here you go, Josh. Have all these balls in the air, you know, and it's like they have more balls in the air than they've ever had, and they caught like they're juggling 70 balls, and they caught 69 of them. Did not mean to go for a 69. I actually, the first thing that came to my mind was 69 balls, and I thought that sounded bad, so I changed it to 70, and now I'm reducing it back to 69. Ruining it. But it's like they had 70 balls in the air, and they miraculously caught every single one, and just as the audience was about to clap for how amazing this trick was, they dropped the last ball, and that's visual and audio feedback. That needs to be fixed.
I never noticed, I took that stuff for granted before. Because
Same.
Only now do I realize that's something I've always liked about Halo multiplayer, but I never could have plucked out of anything before and been able to say distinctly that yes, this was a thing that was so important. Like, I remember in Halo 5 distinctly loving the grenade or the sound of someone's shields going down from far away, as long as it was you who was making contact with them. But like other things, such as like being able to visually tell when an opponent's shields are down and stuff like that. You know, I miss that. I'm like, man, it makes me really hesitate how I want to play against a player, and that's a problem. Because it should be a split-second decision, and that's the point of it, right? Because if you chase, then it's like, I should have thought that through more. Or if it's like, if I stay, then it's like, oh, then you feel that anxiousness, and that's supposed to be the rapid fun of it. But then when I'm sitting there really just like with my thumb up my ass, like, did I even take his shields down? Like, that's definitely a problem. See, you know what I will say? Yeah. I will say Justin's first match that we put up on the Patreon at patreon.com/sacredicon. 2 plugs, bang, bang! I will say that Justin mentioned in that clip, I think, at one point, and granted, it was his first match, right? he mentions at one point while he's in the middle of a firefight, he's got the drop shield. He's like, fuck. He's like, I got the, how do I, what's the button? And I was like, right bumper, and he drops it. But in that moment, he was so focused on the firefight, and then granted, it was his first match, but he couldn't tell that it was down there in the right corner, because I think it did say distinctly right bumper. But that I could see, but that like
in Halo 3, like it's very easy to see the visual that you have a bubble shield. Like it's so easy. It's a big icon.
You know, I would
kind of blends in with the rest right now.
Yeah. Now the grenades, it's like I am gonna take the moment to glance at that stuff, but I mean it is small. I think if anything, it's just got to be like sized up a bit, you know. But it would be kind of neat as a workaround if maybe like, let's say, I mean, this could be this almost sounds as bad as it sounds good, but I should just say it. It's like it'd be neat if you have the AI. You know, if you swap over, you press left on the D-pad, and you go to plasma grenade, and you're plasma grenade ready, you know, or something like that, you know, or frag grenade ready to go, or something, you know. But it's like that might get annoying if you're constantly swapping your frag, plasma, plasma.
It'd be like flag juggling, but for grenades.
Yeah, that might get old.
That was actually pretty funny, Josh. I know it hit my funny bone there.
Thank you.
But something you said that, once again, Josh, you've been on point here. Back on the Actman episode, you were saying to him, like, I wonder what the thing's going to be about Halo Infinite that everyone says months or years after it's released was bad. You know, every Halo game has a thing where in time people go, yeah, that was really bad, that was wrong. I'm saying it right now. Other people have said it. Obviously, Luke himself has said it with a far bigger audience. This is going to be that thing if you don't fix it. This is going to be the thing about Halo Infinite that people are going to say was a big mistake, that other Halos didn't have a problem with, that caused a lot of issues. The visual and audio feedback. It has to be a lot better than it is right now for launch.